Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond My Knowing. I'm Chris Hackala, and today on this episode, we'll be starting off with the Mount Shasta trip and some portal work that we did there. And in case you're new to the channel, some of these stories are visions that I've seen, and some are events like this trip to Mount Shasta. And today we are out we're pretty deep in the forest, and it snowed a night or so ago, so we've got a few inches of snow, and I managed to make a fire to get some heat. So let's get started. November 2024, Mount Shasta. This year, my beloved and I, and Brother Vince and his beloved, all came to Mount Shasta. The weather wasn't like last year. It was cold and snowy. We drove up the icy road to Bunny Flats, where we went last year. There was 1.5 feet of snow, so we couldn't go see the grandmother stone being. We just sent her love and energy. The next day, we went for a drive out to Pluto's cave. The frequency in the front half of the cave was full of light and orbs. Once we made our way towards the end of the cave, the frequency had completely changed and seemed much darker. We stopped quite a ways before the end and turned around. Brother Vince had gotten downloads before we left for the trip about a portal that needed to be reopened. And this portal was very close to the cabin that we stayed in. This portal was one that the Native Americans had used, and it was at the bottom of Siskiyou Lake. When the lake was created, this portal was flooded. Now it's time for ceremony. We started with our meditation. As we dropped into our sacred space, Brother Vince saw Chippewa come in and bring thousands of indigenous with him. Chippewa had all of the indigenous that were with him surround the portal. At this time, I stepped out of the cabin with my pipe to blow smoke in the 4 directions. When I finished this, I saw the Tibetan monks and the galactic beings in the temple in the Himalayas. The energy we were going to use was the liquid gold light that emanated from their temple. As I was swirling and waving my arms and hands, the liquid gold light flowed like a river from the Himalayan mountaintop to the portal to energize and reopen the portal. I was then told to send some liquid gold light, smoky, some liquid gold light straight up to the galactics, and they would reflect it to other planets with prisms on the bottom of their ships. When I came back into the cabin, my beloved had a divine feminine monk sitting next to her. It was her from one of her previous incarnations. My beloved was part of the divine order of Tibetan monks in a previous lifetime. How freaking cool is that? As the energy began to settle and we had completed our work, all of us started to get very hungry. We had dinner and then hung out and debriefed, and then went to bed because we were going home in the morning. The drive home was a wet, slushy highway, but there were beautiful rainbows. My next vision, cloudy green turquoise. I am high in the sky, and I see what looks like wooden power poles. They are 100 to 200 feet tall with no wires. The air is heavy and humid and is very thick. The poles are in a straight line standing in the ocean. The water was cloudy green turquoise. To my left is open ocean, and to my right There were sheer brown-colored cliffs. I start descending in front of one of the poles, starting at the top and slowly floating down in the sky, looking at the pole. My next vision, 8 days later. I am on a beach with my back to the ocean. I sense that someone else is there, but I don't see him. There is a weathered wooden pier about 6 feet off the ground on my left side. The air is thick and warm, and the water is swishing up onto the sand on my feet. And I am looking down at the sand, and I see a crystal emerging as the water goes back into the ocean. The crystal is about 10 inches square and about 5 inches tall. The edges are all rounded. The crystal is almost clear. You can see a layer or two going through it that were hazy white, and it resembles a pyramid that was cut in half and tumbled in the ocean. This place feels like home. Here's a picture of what I made out of wood to resemble this crystal. Imagine this wood as crystal. The next event, we decided to get out of town and go to a hot springs. So we drove to the hot springs for a couple of days. It was good to get out of town. That night, I had a vision of what looked like the bottom of a large dreidel with cuneiform writing going around it in a circular fashion. We had one last soak in the morning before we headed home. The energy of the water was permeating our bodies. When I was holding on to my beloved in the water, I heard a masculine voice in my head that told me, "I am with you, my daughter. You are never lost." And I said to myself, "What?" And then I asked, "Can I hear it again?" And before I finished saying that, he was already speaking it again. And I knew immediately that it was Yeshua channeling through me for my beloved. As I told my beloved this, tears started rolling down her face. Later, she told me that she needed to hear that. And of course, Yeshua knew she needed to hear that message. The next event is anointing with Elise, the priestess. And my intention for this anointing, I call forward all ancient knowing from forgotten wisdoms. Once I got onto the table and I started to drop into my sacred space, Chippewa came forward. Chippewa came to me and we traveled to a gathering. This place was an open meadow with trees and forest at its edges. In this meadow and forest were many small fires scattered with groups of beings around each fire. Chippewa told me, "This is living in the present. This is the connectedness of all living beings. These are our brothers and sisters living in the knowing of all connectedness. As the layers are shed, all timelines come closer together and the veil thins." On my way back to my body, I traveled through one of my recent visions. The vision when I was on the beach and I found the crystal. When I was moving through this vision, I saw the face of the being that lived there. We looked at each other in the eyes, and then he blinked at me. His coloration was like a Tibetan singing bowl, kind of brassy looking. He had a round head, and his eyes were on the far left and the far right. He had a small mouth and nose, and the bridge of his nose curved up and out to the upper sides of his head. His energy was loving and timeless and very natural. He emanated the mana of the land. December 2024. Mary Magdalene. Last night, my beloved saw Yeshua around my head, and then she saw Mary Magdalene in the doorway. My next vision, Maori tribe, New Zealand. I was in New Zealand with my Maori tribe, and my brother was speaking to me in Maori, te reo. There were lots of other members of the tribe around. I was shown an altar in front of a tree on a wooden platform on the ground. On the altar was a green branch, one on each side, with a wooden object in the middle. A little bit about my Maori incarnation. During this lifetime, my name was Te Manorango. This means the bird of peace. And I was a tahunga, a keeper of sacred knowledge. I knew how to navigate by the stars and the ocean currents. I was a healer, and I was healing through chants, the karakia, and plants, and speaking with the gods and ancestors between the land, the sea, and the sky. Part of my duties was to perform special ceremonies on the cliffs, the beaches, and the mountains to anchor spirit energy into the land. This was done to keep these places protected in the highest of energies. In rituals, I would channel the voices of our ancestors. I would be a bridge so the ancestors could speak through me in karakia. The sacred art of tattooing, moko, was a very important part of what I did, creating a living map of tribal members' soul journeys. My next vision. I was told our love flows through the veils, through the realms and dimensions. Our individual energy of love flows to all beings. When we radiate our love, we are all in unity, and we can feel our connectedness to all things. Love truly knows no boundaries. Now we're up to the beginning of 2025. 2025, January. New vision. Floating. I was a monk walking on a rocky path. Then I leaned forward and put my arm out in front of me, and I levitated and floated over the rocks and holes in the path. My next vision, the same night. I stepped into a large oval elevator, and it was oval from side to side, and it was all stainless steel inside. There was a woman inside of the elevator, and when I stepped into the right side. The woman told me to face the back of the elevator and look at the wall. Then the elevator went dark and dropped. My feet and body both came up off the floor. In both visions, I am floating or levitating. I wonder what they are trying to tell me. Then I was told, you have a meeting destined by birthright. My next vision, softball. I was laying in bed, sleeping, and during the night, I felt an intense energy on the top of my left foot, and this happened twice. Each time this happened, I felt my right hand open up and form a shape, as if I had a softball in my hand. and my hand was up by my head in the air. This shape shot the energy from my foot through my right hand and up into the ether. Next event, Bastet and her spirit cat, Josie. This morning, Josie alerted us by tossing one of our cat toys almost 2 feet up into the air on a shelf by our bed. She knocked quite a few essential oils onto the floor. At that time, my beloved was told by Bastet that I was supposed to smoke my pipe and journey today. Bastet would be with me on the journey, bringing energetic upgrades. As we started, I could feel the energy coming down through my stellar gateway, and then my soul star and my causal and crown chakras. As it hit my crown chakra, I could feel the energy traveling through my skin, into my third eye, and my skin on my face, my throat chakra, all the way down and through the back and the lower chakras, down through my legs and through my feet. I was sitting in the energy when my body began to integrate the new energies by sporadically twitching in different areas. Then I was told, Mary, we might not have enough time together. Then I had another small vision. Snakes. My beloved and I are walking on a trail, and we see a green gopher snake and a small green vine snake in a bush. And this bush had some shiny, medium-sized leaves. Next vision, sparkly blue eyes. I was hiking on a trail with a woman behind me. My partner, spouse, beloved, I'm not sure. This trail was very remote, and on my left side, there were granite-looking sheer rock faces that came down to the trail. On my right, I could see rolling hills and mountains covered in pine and fir trees as far as you could see. I stepped aside in a small nook against the granite to look at the view, and I was expecting her to walk by. She then stopped right in front of me and blocked me in. Her face was inches from mine. She had dirty blonde hair and a ponytail with bangs. There was a light breeze that blew her bangs, and I could see her hair move with the wind. She had darker colored eyebrows and beautiful, inviting, sparkly blue eyes. She had light tan skin with a few freckles on her nose and her cheeks. Her energetic, beautiful smile was amazing. There was such excitement to be free and alive and to experience life. Wow, that's it for this episode. I appreciate everyone and love all of you. Thank you for being here today. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And as always, shine your light and raise your frequency.